Hi, fellow Century Village unit owners. My name is Ed Grossman. Many of you know me already, especially those who go to the delegate assembly, because as a non-officer, I'm probably the most visible delegate on the stage. I am running for the office of Treasurer. I have what I think is a solid business background to back that up. I've been a CPA for over 50 years, licensed both in the state of New York and the state of Florida. My career covered many different aspects of using my CPA background. I've been in practice for myself for over 20 years. I was the senior financial officer of a company owned by Merrill Lynch and K Corporation. Combined, they managed over 50 million in lines. As treasurer, your job is more than just making financial reports. The prime responsibility of a treasurer of a corporation is to protect the assets of the corporation. And that's why I decided to run for treasurer. Over the years, the accounting methods, which were here originally when I came, have become watered down. Amongst them is, we used to have separate accounts for our reserves, so that we didn't have one big mishmash that anybody could just reach their hand in. I'm for replacing the mishmash today with separate accounts designating those amounts of money that our reserves are for. In addition, when you protect the assets of the corporation, you're also supposed to try to get the most out of those assets. Earnings. We have been negligent in not really earning what we can. Recently at a delegate assembly, it was brought up that we only earned under $200 for interest. Several people got up and said, "Oh my God, how could that be?" Well, as a condominium of our nature, we have to be very, very conservative. Now that means we have to protect against downside risks. When the matter was brought up of separating the accounts in different banks, it was said that that's too laborious. Well, it really isn't laborious. You're not taking out money every month. However, even in today's market, separate bank accounts will yield a very minimal amount of money. However, we have to check and delve into the records, because currently, even in this low interest earning environment, treasury bills, which are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, which are more liquid than FIDC guarantees at banks, which was also brought out at a recent delegate meeting, can earn anywhere from 1.5 to 2% per annum, depending on the spread. Now you can get a treasury bill that will mature within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, completely up to 2 years or more, which I wouldn't recommend. But an average of 1.5% would be available to us. Now 1.5% of $3 million is earnings of $45,000 a year. I believe that that should be looked into. Having discussed this with a representative of Citibank, which deals in these matters, and has other condominiums in Florida using treasury bills and even guaranteed insurance funds, where they earn a terrifically greater amount of money than under $200. In addition, in the past, I brought several suggestions up as regarding earnings. In our own old bus contract, we had the ability to advertise on the outside of the bus. Now it's my understanding you can only advertise on the inside of the bus. I didn't see any progress in this regard. This kind of advertising can bring in a substantial amount of money without us expending any money. That's also an underutilization of our assets. Furthermore, many of you go to the movies, and when you go to the movies, you see trailers. I see trailers, you see trailers. Those trailers earn a great deal of money. Having checked this out with an individual who markets this product here in the neighborhood, giving that person our average attendance, we could easily earn 10 to 15 and as much as $20,000 a year without any out-of-pocket expense. Why should that be ignored? It is impossible just to put your head in the ground and say, we're not doing anything. Well, it is possible because it has been done. Furthermore, if you've watched our meetings or have attended our meetings, you will notice that on the operations committee, money is being given out with no challenge as to whether or not it should really be Century Village's expense. Recently, almost $1 million was expended for new air conditioning. In our lease, we have the ability to go to arbitration. You don't have to go to court, you can go to arbitration. Our lease says capital improvements are not our expense. I submitted 3 different memos, one from the Internal Revenue, one from the state of Florida, and one from the state of New York, that replacing a full air conditioner is definitely a capital expense. Would we have prevailed? I can't tell you, but I got to tell you this much, not to pursue it is gross negligence on my estimation. Furthermore, controlling of expenses, that's protecting the assets of the corporation. If you watch these meetings, you see that there's very little resistance for improvements which we, the owners, pay because of the revised lease. I mean, if a roof fell from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor, we'd wind up paying for it. Why wasn't the air conditioning challenged? I can only tell you, for a lack of actually reading the bylaws, reading the lease, and making an effort. Things come up all the time. The swapping of the buildings. If those of you recall, I questioned that. Why? Originally they said the buildings were of the same value. It turns out they weren't. But you don't have to be a real estate agent to know that a piece of real estate on the main road, easily reachable from the main entrance, has to be worth more than a piece of real estate at the end of the world near Southampton. These are things that should be challenged and haven't been challenged. It's my intention, if elected, with your help, to solve many problems that exist. We just had reasonable questions asked on the delegate floor about the accounting methods. We wound up with an answer as, go see the hired accountant, which we pay, which we never had to pay for before, for answers. Unfortunately, Jason is a very nice man. He seems to be an astute accountant, but he just doesn't have the background of Century Village. Come see the accountant. Going to see the accountant is not the answer. The answer is the treasurer should have regular meetings before the delegate assembly to review the report, answer these kinds of questions that the most of the delegates who represent us have the ability to ask and answer, and that can be brought out on the delegate floor. Maintaining the same old stuff is not the answer. Moving forward with a village that has declined in many areas. Don't ask me, ask those Century Villagers who have been here for many, many years. I look forward to becoming your next treasurer, representing you, and with your help and participation, improve the village beyond anyone's dreams. Thank you, Ed Grossman.